I'm Kat.
I'm Haley.
And this is Night Classy, the podcast where two teachers unwind, sip wine, and each teach a lesson we can't teach at school. What are we drinking, Haley?
White Claws, where there's no laws.
When you're drinking claws.
That's right. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say mine's lemon.
Mine is watermelon.
Yum. And we got some watermelon ones on the queue as well.
We sure do. You have yours chilling in the ice cup because my dumb ass forgot to put them in the fridge.
And then I feel pretty smart for this. I filled up a cup of ice so I could pour it in there. But then I don't want the ice to melt and make it watery. So instead I put the can in the cup of ice to cool it from the outside in.
So smart. So smart. But there is an issue because think of all the germs on the outside of that can.
But I'm not going to put it in the ice. I'm going to drink it from the can.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes.
Yeah.
You've thought it all through.
It is. It's like a giant koozie full of ice. And I'm going to put a straw in it. So I'll be drinking it from the bottom where it's getting the most ice to can contact.
Yes. The ingenuity. You've really thought this through.
I am an engineer after all.
Yes. The math teacher, engineer, podcaster extraordinaire.
A woman of many facets. But yeah, how was your day? What'd you do?
I kept waking up. Like I told you, I was waking up in a panic because I had to make sure my notes were set for tonight. And we had an event last night. We were drinking a little bit, so I was hungover, and I kept thinking that it was time to wake up. So I was like panic waking up.
That's the worst.
Yeah. Finally got up and got some, not even Gatorade because they're all sold out at Walgreens.
Gatorade, there's
everywhere,
there's a Gatorade shortage in this country. It's like, I looked it up. We were like, we have to know what's going on because you can't buy Gatorade anywhere for like the last 2 months. And apparently it's like a combination of things like supply chain due to COVID, but then also more people are getting sick. So more people are buying Gatorade and it just can't keep it on the shelves.
And the only time I need Gatorade is when I'm hungover.
I know.
That was this morning. And so I drank something, I don't know, I just know it was a fruit flavored water thing.
Yeah. I was looking at the bottle. It looked kind of good. It
was good.
It has caffeine in it too, I saw.
Yeah. I got Tommy one and he was like, I don't like it. So I
he
drank
can
it.
shove it up his ass.
Yeah. And he did.
While you watched.
Oh no, I did the shoving actually to specify. Yes.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
I'm a shover.
It is what it is. Alec and I were talking about like we need to buy because they have powdered Gatorade that you mix with water.
Oh yeah, like Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm. But it's like Gatorade, so we're like we should buy a giant tub of the powdered Gatorade, and then
Do you drink Gatorade that often?
We drink a lot of Gatorade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. It's just like become a weird addiction. Like it started when before COVID happened, when we'd like actually go drinking every weekend and get hungover, and then it like morphed into every time I go to Walgreens, I get a Gatorade. And every time Alec goes to Walgreens, he gets us Gatorades. And now we just trade Gatorades back and forth forever.
Hey, it's a slippery slope. I understand. I wonder what the first aid was. You know, like Gatorade, Kool-Aid, Powerade. Why are they called aids?
They aid you
lemonade.
in hydration. Oh,
lemonade. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. Probably, yeah. It's just like lemonade and then...
But how did lemonade get its
Gatorade.
name?
I don't know.
All right, let me write it
Look at
down.
me.
Night classy topic.
How did lemonade get its name? Stay tuned for next week.
I know you're all so intrigued.
It is intriguing.
But
yeah, I was hungover too. And then we went on like the longest walk of my life, but it was fun.
is that where you guys were?
We walked for like 3 hours.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. First we walked. Do you know that house near us that has like 6 stray cats?
No.
There's like a house with a bunch of stray cats and we've given all of them names. So there's Connor because he looks like Connor when he wore his like cat suit on The Bachelorette.
Right. Uh-huh.
There's Simon because I feel like Simon is just a good name for an orange cat. And then there's 2 gray cats that look identical, but one is like really emaciated and looks fucked up. And so we named them Esmeralda and Esmeralda, but it's not Esmeralda. The sick one is Ilsmeralda because she's ill, and the other one is Elsmer Healthda because he's healthy. And so we visited our stray cats, and then
COVID has changed you.
It has. And then we walked and walked and walked. We like walked to this place and got coffee, and the coffee was like really good.
Where?
Like down on Cooper Young. We went to the farmer's market, and there's this place that has like a bunch of like interesting pastries, and we got coffee, and then we went, and there's like a housing development being built like way back by the train tracks. And so we were walking around and like looking at all the houses that are half built, and then we found like a lot that looks like it used to be an old warehouse that burned down, and we were walking around there, and then we went back into like the woods, and there was like an abandoned shack covered in graffiti, and we were like, oh my God. And we got closer and closer to it, and it smelled like feces. Like there was 100% someone squatting in there. And so we left, and when we heard someone like coughing inside, that was kind of sad. But it was like really, it was like crazy because we were just like exploring and came across this shack in the woods.
You're like, and then I stepped on a rusty nail, and now I'm not feeling so well.
But yeah, we went on like quite the adventure, and then I came home and did my notes, and now I'm here.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, you had a way more eventful day than I did. I just laid in bed, finished up my notes, and showered finally.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you showered. I showered too. I woke up at 7 to the sound of Georgia like attacking Safety.
Oh my God. He probably deserved it.
No, he went in our closet to get the squirrel. So Alex sprayed him with the spray bottle. And so he bolted out of our closet straight into Georgia and freaked her out. And she was like, arr! Like,
my gosh, our house is a madhouse. Literally, there's always something and barking.
Oh yeah. And now we still have the squirrel. We've postponed giving it up for another week.
Yeah. Like I said last night, it's just going to be every week is one more week. I can see it now.
I know. It's so tempting to keep him, but we can't.
So fucking cute.
We can't. It's so cute. We showed him off last night on our cocktail hour.
Oh my God. The cocktail hour was so fun, even though it only was able to last for like half the time it was supposed to. But we're going to do it again. So thank you to everyone who came and chatted with us.
Yeah. If you don't know, we had a cocktail hour on a similar to Zoom program and with our Patreon. So if you're on Patreon, you got a link to join us on a cocktail hour. But it was like weird. The program we used, we probably will use something else next time because we wanted to see everyone's faces, but it only allowed 4 people to have their cameras on at a time. And so we're still figuring out the tech stuff, but it was really, really fun. We wanted to start doing it regularly. So if you're not on Patreon and you want to hang out with us every other week, join.
Us and the squirrel.
Us and the squirrel.
There's an incentive to keep it. I like low-key want you guys to keep it. I don't want to be responsible for it.
We can't keep it. We have 2 cats and a dog.
You shouldn't keep it.
We can't keep it. Who will rent to us ever again?
What? How will they know? They won't.
I would know. And
Surely,
I can't be a person who has a squirrel.
You've already developed that reputation, so I think you're good on that.
We can't keep it. We can't.
Yeah,
also, I don't even know if it's legal to have a pet squirrel in Tennessee. Probably not.
Who knows? I don't know.
We were talking to Justin and Zach today in our new group chat with What the Gays Say, and they looked up if it was legal to have a squirrel in North Carolina. It's not. So I assume Tennessee is the same.
Probably the same, but that surprises me. I would not expect that of like some southern states. For some reason, I feel like...
Also, it's like a squirrel. Like, I don't want to be like rude, but kind of like, who cares? What's gonna happen?
Yeah, let's listen back to last week's episode and remember what we did to the squirrels.
Yeah.
Also, and then let's readjust these laws because they deserve to have nice things too.
I do want to like amend what I just said. I don't want anyone to come after me saying like, I believe we should take wild animals and keep them as pets, because that's not what I'm saying. But like, he was a helpless baby. Like, what am I supposed to do? Put him outside, which is like exactly what's going to happen when he goes to the rehabber. But like, it's just sad. In a perfect world, I would get to keep a squirrel and it would be a tame animal. But I know in my heart, in my brain, that it's a wild animal and I cannot keep it.
And your brain.
Both.
Oh, man. Yeah. That little squirrel. Alvin.
Yeah, Alvin. Little Alvin. We talked about how a cuter name for him would be Rhubarb. Just seems like a good squirrel name. We could call him Rue.
Ruby.
Or we like jokingly said we should name him Squirrel Toll. like the Pokemon Squirtle.
I like
but
that one.
Squirtle. It's hard to say.
Squillium.
Like from SpongeBob. Scrollium.
Yes. It's a squirrel's world.
We're just living in it. Anyway, we have some people to shout out.
Yes, we do. We're going to start with Elise Hensman from Duluth, Minnesota. Shout out to you, Elise. Thank you for joining our Patreon. We hope you're enjoying it. And she's currently in school for education.
Woo, woo.
So we have a future educator.
Love a future educator. And we love a current educator because Twisted Teacher Podcast also became Patreons.
Yes.
And we're excited to have them. Hopefully they join us on a cocktail hour sometime.
Oh my gosh, we would love to see you all there. And if you're jealous of all these people joining our cocktail hours, then just go over to Patreon. You can get a shout out and do all the fun things that we have over there too.
Definitely. Please do. And also just like double shout out to Twisted Teacher Podcast. I know I've talked about them before, but it's a great podcast, especially if you're an educator. Please check them out. They're pretty badass. And we didn't breathalyze this week because our breathalyzer still doesn't have batteries. We keep forgetting to buy those. Sorry.
Yep, we are subpar human beings.
Yeah, take this podcast away from us. But so we're just going to trade off. I went second last week, so I'm going first this week.
Number one. Oh, wait, I want to shout out Carly Westy. She is a
yeah.
listener. She tagged Night Classy on TikTok for the topic that I did last week, Rosalia Lombardo. So I totally had a brain fart and didn't mention that last week. Thank you, Carly. I appreciate that. Any other ideas, feel free to always tag us.
Oh, yeah. Send them our way. All right. Well, this idea came from me, but it was inspired by something Alex told me this week. Both. They're combined. So here we go. And I want to take a few sips of my drink before I go over this because it'll be more fun drunk.
Uh-oh.
So pretty much this entire lesson was lifted from a single article. Not proud of it, but that's the case. And it was written by a Vox.com and Pricenomics writer named Zachary Crockett. There was like a link to his Twitter in the article, so I clicked on it. And the first tweet I saw was about him and how he went hunting for Finn's treasure.
Oh, we know Finn's treasure.
Yeah, from Patreon. Alec covered it. So that was just like a cool little connection, but has nothing to do with my story except for the fact that Mr. Zachary wrote this.
Wow. What a fake out. Mr. Crockett.
He basically wrote my notes for me, but I summarized them in my own words.
Blue Adept.
Yeah.
Just transcribing.
Yes, but no. Yes, but also not at all. This is much better, I swear.
Same, but different. So you're leveling up.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. All right. Lord Timothy Dexter was not a lord. He was an Aquarius. He was born in January of 1747.
As if being an Aquarius has anything to do with being a lord.
Right, but it does have a lot to do with his decision making. I think it explains a lot.
I think I'm a rising Aquarius. I was looking at my co-star. There's so many different options, though, for all your different signs. I don't know what's rising and what my moon is and all that stuff.
It confuses me too. I don't really understand. Someone needs to come teach us. You already taught a lesson on astrology. Why don't you know?
Do you remember every single lesson you've done?
Yes.
No, you don't. You lying bitch.
I do. I remember.
I actually, when I was visiting my family, there were so many things that I like either corrected people on or expanded upon that I learned listening to your lessons or researching mine.
Yes, there's so much. We just got a message the other day, someone saying they won trivia because of us.
Hell yeah. We practically did too. 2 weekends ago when we were playing, was it Fibbage?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This podcast helps you with trivia. If you want to win bar trivia, keep listening.
My brother was like, did you know that Hitler invented Fanta? And I was like, Actually. They had a plant in Nazi Germany, but that was that was Coke.
Mm. So
anyway,
he was born a few miles outside of Boston. His parents were poor farm laborers, and Timothy dropped out of school at the age of 8 to become a farm laborer himself.
How do you even make that choice? Okay, you probably don't.
He probably did not make that choice. His situation made that choice for him.
Circumstance.
Yeah. At 17 years old, his fortune changed slightly for the better when he was able to secure an apprenticeship with a leather tanner in Boston. Leather leather tanning is like disgusting, smelly, horrible, dirty work. Did you ever watch the episode of Dirty Jobs where he like does leather tanning?
If I did, I do not remember it.
Okay. Well, it's like very dirty. And at the time this job was considered very low class, but the money was good because leather is expensive and no one fucking wants to be a smelly leather tanner. So it was like good for him. He was excited. Even luckier, he happened to apprentice with a manufacturer that cornered the market in Moroccan leather, which was really popular in the 1760s among like wealthy elites for their clothing. So he was working at like the good leather tanner, making some money. And after 5 years of this apprenticeship, he left the company. He was 21 years old and he started his own business making leather gloves and moose hide pants. But this was the time of the Colonial Rebellion, and the Boston Tea Party had just happened, so the British had closed all the ports. You could not export any goods. So, like, this sucked ass. A lot of craftsmen and merchants were fleeing the city because they couldn't really sell their goods, but not Timothy. Instead, he doubled down and moved to Boston's Leather District, which was a neighborhood called Charleston. This is where he met 32-year-old Elizabeth Frothingham.
What a name.
I know.
Frothingham.
Incredible name. She was a wealthy woman. She was
obviously
fancy. Yeah, with a name like Elizabeth Frothingham.
What if she hyphenated her name with Nipple Bomb?
Elizabeth Frothingham Nippin' Bomb.
Frothingham Nippin' Bomb.
Is it froth is something you can get on drinks, right?
Yeah.
Like you can ask for froth. I wish we called it Frothingham. Can I get some Frothingham on that
You
instead
could put
of just
froth on a ham.
Ew, cat.
Yum.
Disgusting.
That is disgusting.
Never say that to me again.
Oh, I won't.
You know what? Don't even talk to me.
That would make for an awkward episode.
You're breaking the rules right now.
What do you call a pig with rabies?
Frothingham.
Frothingham.
Good one.
So dumb.
Frothing bacon.
She was wealthy partly because of her successful career as a door-to-door salesperson, but also because her husband had just died. Womp, womp, womp.
But yay.
But yay, because he was super wealthy. He was also like an associate of Timothy's, so I think he worked like in the leather industry also, but like he was higher up there.
She's at a slumber party at like 8 years old, and they're all talking about like the types of guys they like, and she's like, I really like a good leather man.
She was into the leather daddies.
The leather dad. Okay,
Yeah.
8 years old was a bit young. That number is just stuck in my head. Maybe more like 14.
You're into leather daddies at 14?
Who knows? The times were different.
Yeah, they were certainly different. So her wealth attracted Timothy. Somehow he was able to charm her into accepting his marriage proposal. So here is this lowly leather tanner now marrying an heiress.
Leather daddy.
A leather daddy, a lowly leather daddy marrying a leather heiress. And overnight, Timothy went from being this uneducated child of farm laborers to a member of Boston's high society.
High society.
High society. Society. Sorry, Bachelor reference. He moved into one of Boston's wealthiest neighborhoods, where his neighbors were John Hancock and Thomas Russell, who was one of the wealthiest men in the country at the time. But just because Tim had money did not mean he was accepted by his peers. Timothy was low class. He was crass. He was considered to have bad manners, and like nobody saw him as an equal. He was kind of excluded. And this like pissed him the fuck off. He had climbed all this way only to not be respected.
Climbed all this way. Married into wealth. That's like me choosing to go up the stairs rather than the elevator. I climbed this entire way. I climbed Stair Mountain.
Imagine if you climbed Stair Mountain and then got to the top and there's all these like super marathon runners and they still don't respect you.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
I would be in a loony bin.
You would be fucking pissed. And so he needed to get the respect that he deserved. He thought that the best way to do this was to hold a seat in public office, but he had dropped out of school when he was 8. So it was tough going to get that public seat that he wanted. But he was persistent. He harassed the Malden, that was the town, the governing body. He sent them dozens of petitions trying to get this seat in public office. And eventually, like, they were just like fucking sick of them. So they created a position for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
He was also super wealthy. So I'm sure that played a role.
Yeah.
Maybe he like bribed them, but his position was called Informer of Deer. His job was to manage the town's fawn populations, only there hadn't been a deer in the town for 19 years. There were no deer. Oh my God.
You say Informer of Deer, and I am expecting him to hold like deer meetings once a week. All the deer gather. And
he's like in the forest.
Here's what's going on in the human world.
There's just deer just blinking at him.
They threw a bunch of herbs into the water. Big water, ocean, yes. Tea party. High society party.
Yeah, they're just blinking. And then so he was like the master of deer that didn't exist. And I guess Timothy didn't know that there weren't deer because he was super happy with his position. I don't think he actually did anything, but now he had a title. However, his neighbors saw this as a joke. They obviously saw right through it and didn't respect him anymore. They probably actually respected him even less.
Definitely.
But he was desperate for Daddy's respect, and he had a new plan to get it. When the Revolutionary War started in 1775, the United States' first paper currency was created. It was the Continental Dollar, but people didn't trust its value, especially because they weren't sure if the U.S. was going to win the war. So nobody like used it. Shop owners refused to accept it. Nobody wanted to be paid in Continentals. And this forced Congress to print a bunch of it so it would be abundant, but that caused it to completely depreciate. And by 1779, it took 40 Continental dollars to buy $1 worth of goods. So it was basically useless.
Yikes. Money is a nightmare.
Yeah, it was really bad. And this was especially a big problem because the soldiers who fought for the colonies in the Revolutionary War were paid in Continental dollars.
Oh, no.
So they had just fought in this war and then they like basically weren't paid. And they were left destitute, like without any kind of safety net. And it was like really bad. So that meant that rich men like Timothy's neighbors, Hancock and Russell, kind of treated this as their charity project. So what they would do is they would buy back these Continental dollars from the soldiers, basically out of the kindness of their heart and for the clout tea. And this was like at a loss to them. They weren't really getting anything from these Continental dollars, but it like
some good press,
right. Timothy observed this, and he thought that the way he was going to get respect was to do the same thing, be a charitable guy, just like all these wealthy men that he admired. But he wanted to outdo them. He collected he and his wife's entire life savings and spent it all buying Continental dollars back from soldiers for like pennies on the dollar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. What's about to happen next?
Well, like everyone was like, this is the fucking stupidest bitch I've ever seen. He basically traded all his real money for monopoly money, and he looked like a huge fool. Nobody respected him anymore until the 1790s. The U.S. Constitution was ratified, and in it stated that Continentals could be traded for treasury bonds at 1% of face value. So like not great. But in Massachusetts, they paid full value. So he was able to trade in all these Continental dollars that he bought for pennies at a massive profit. This skyrocketed him from being wealthy to being enormously wealthy.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, just by pure stupid luck.
What the hell? When is my stupidity going to pay off like this?
Right. I feel like this is like people who bought Bitcoin like really early on.
Dogecoin.
Or Dogecoin.
That whole thing was a joke.
Yeah.
To start.
Totally. But it really worked out for him. But even then, like his neighbors still didn't respect him. Timothy was pissed. He's like, now I'm like fucking richer than you and you don't respect me.
Yeah, they probably hate him a little bit.
Oh,
There's probably some jealousy.
They probably hate him more than they already hated him. Timothy blamed this on Boston's quote unquote stodgy nature, not on his own upbringing or annoying personality, which by all accounts he had. So he decided to move his family away from Boston to Newburyport, which is a coastal town in Massachusetts. At the time, Newbury was known as like this idyllic small town and a place where the rich and poor mingled. So he's like, cool, like here I can be the queen bee. No one will care where I'm from, but like they'll see that I got money. He wasted no time showing off there. He bought a fleet of merchant ships, a stable full of cream-colored horses, which he used to pull his custom initialed coach.
Bougie.
He was bougie as hell. He built a princely chateau that overlooked the ocean, and he filled it with the most luxurious furnishings down to, quote, tasteful and commodious outhouses. He also commissioned 40 15-foot statues of American heroes, and he spread them out on like these giant pedestals. Like think like Greek columns. These giant statues were on top of them. All along the front of his yard, there were some on the roof of his house, and they were fucking huge. They were each 15 feet tall. They included statues of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Napoleon Bonaparte, Samuel Adams, and other military generals, philosophers, politicians, Native American chiefs, and the goddess of fame and liberty.
That's insane. The more money you have, the crazier your decor gets.
Oh yeah, especially I feel like if you're someone who doesn't come from money, you're just desperate to prove yourself with these big grand things, and it showed.
It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It looks
just
crazy.
What you're picturing. It looks like a bunch of like dolls on these huge columns around his house, and the house is beautiful, but it just looks wrong. It looks like they're like toy soldiers.
Yeah, and there's so many of them. Like his whole yard is full of these columns, and the columns are taller than the statues. So these must have been like a total of like 40 feet high at least.
Oh my gosh.
They're massive. It just looked absolutely absurd. And not to be outdone by his other statues, Timothy erected one final statue of himself.
I was waiting for it.
Yes. He was the queen bee, as we have heard. So on the base, it was inscribed, quote, I am the first of the East, the first in the West, and the greatest philosopher in the Western world.
Are you, though?
No, he was not a philosopher. In fact, he could barely read and had never read a book about philosophy.
Also, you're not the first on the East or the West.
Right, the first what?
Yeah, the first to decorate your yard like this. The first to be ticketed by the homeowners association,
I guess
maybe.
That, yeah. The first to commission these ugly ass statues. Each one of them cost him $2,000 in the 1700s.
Good God.
So combined, they were more expensive than his entire estate. He just dumped all his money into them. Having 40 giant statues of random people in the front yard got Timothy a lot of press, which he loved, but it was not good attention. People would walk by and gawk at his house.
Attention is attention. People have proved that over and over again.
Oh, he was one who loved attention, but his wife was super like fucking embarrassed. I know. I would be too. She got to the point where she like couldn't stand living in the house anymore because people would just gawk at it all the time. So she bought herself a separate home in the same neighborhood and just lived there.
Yeah, I'm with you, sis. Was divorce a thing back then, or was that not really a...
Doesn't seem like it, or she probably would have divorced him.
She practically did. Oh my God. I get it. I get it.
I also get it.
We've all been there.
I would be out.
What would be the line you would draw in the sand for shit that Alec puts out in our yard? Like, when would you start renting a different place?
Oh, I mean, our yard is already embarrassing.
It's pretty bad already.
So I don't know if it could get much worse.
Alec,
she hasn't left me yet.
Do you have a line? Anything out in the yard that would be like, it's a no-fly zone?
We were just walking through Midtown like looking at some of the like questionable art choices.
Yeah.
And I gotta just say, I'm not a big lawn art fan at all. I kind of
neither.
all the little trinkets and stuff people buy at farmers markets, the metal work, I just don't dig it.
Yeah, I'm not really into that either, but I like a good wind chime. That's some lawn art I can fuck with.
I like looking at it, but I don't like hearing it from inside. For some reason, it just rubs me the wrong way.
Do you remember
when the wind blows?
Is it the movie The Skeleton Key where when you hear what does it say? When the chime.
Did you ever? Have you ever?
I can't. Okay, it's like when something about like how when you hear wind chimes, the devil is near. Like
that must be it because I hate it.
It freaked me out as a kid, and yeah, I associate them. Like I was afraid of hearing them because of that movie, and then my bus stop that I had to wait at every day when it was like still dark outside because it was like 6 a.m. and dark. There was like a bunch of wind chimes, and I would have to wait out there in the dark all by myself when I was like 12.
Oh no!
And the wind chimes were going off, and I had just seen that movie, and I wanted to die.
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Our old neighborhood, when I was around the same age, it was built on an old horse farm, and we would find stuff like rusted, like horse equipment and things like that. I'm sure there were plenty of
I thought you were going to
horses.
say bones.
We never found any bones. Actually, maybe our neighbors did. I can't remember. But anyway, I got really freaked out one night taking the garbage can just down the driveway. Like I thought I heard like a horse, a ghost horse.
Oh,
and I was
maybe you did.
Fuck this. And I like ran up the driveway. I climbed Driveway Mountain.
I love how you're scared of horse ghosts because there used to be horses on that land.
I'm so gullible that I can believe and scare myself into almost anything, okay?
This was an old horse burial ground.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my God. Oh well. But yeah, all of the streets were named after the horses who used to live there. So
dead horses.
There was like
the ground.
Irish dude and a Palomar.
Irish dude?
Yeah.
That was its name?
Yes. Irish dude. We lived on Firm Stance. I don't know if I should be giving out.
Why are horse names so fucked up?
Because it's fun. It's like boat names.
I guess that's true.
And people are hopping on that trend with their babies, so.
That's true. So Timothy's wife moved out, and he moved his father in. This
leather daddy.
Leather daddies.
Leather daddy, granddaddy.
Daddies of a leather flock together. The mansion now became a bachelor pad. They had huge parties where they drank and fucked around with sex workers until all of their fine interior decorations, including curtains once owned by the Queen of France, were covered in, quote, unseemly stains offensive to sight and smell.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Also, what is there like a thrift store like Queens R Us? Like what the fuck? The curtains used to be owned by the Queen.
I was wondering that too. I was like, okay, they were owned by the Queen, but they're still secondhand. So what's the flex?
Yeah, I mean, no flex now that there's unseemly stains.
Right. Now they're disgusting. He essentially turned this place into like a frat house, and he's in this nice ass neighborhood. His neighbors are fucking pissed. So together they hatched a plan to get rid of him.
Ooh, okay.
Not kill him. They weren't going to do that. They planned to basically trick him into giving him like terrible business advice that would bankrupt him.
Oh my gosh, just get him to move away.
Well, that's what they're doing. They're bankrupting him so he can no longer afford to live there. And they kind of like knew that he admired them and wanted to be accepted by them. So they knew that he would follow whatever stupid thing they told him to do.
Oh, that seems mean.
It was mean. But like also what's mean is putting these giant ass ugly statues all around your property and turning your house into a party house.
Yes, they are ugly. I don't know about bankrupting him. Poor guy.
I think he kind of had it coming. So one neighbor decided to tell him to sell warming pots in the West Indies. And warming pots are these things, they're like pans with long handles, and you'd put hot stones in them and use them to heat up your bed because it was like really cold.
That's what I'm going to start using this winter.
I
Because
know.
Upstairs,
Why did those stop being a thing? I guess now we have heating blankets.
fire hazard,
Fire
maybe.
hazard. Yeah, that's true. But like the West Indies are really fucking hot.
Yeah,
so they
that's
did
so
not
dumb.
need warming pans. But regardless, Timothy followed this advice and he bought 42,000 warming pads and shipped them to the West Indies.
Okay, so he really was pretty dumb.
He was super
because
dumb.
why would you start out with 42,000?
Right. Send a few. But like also sending a ship to the West Indies is so expensive. Like you got to make it worth your time.
Yeah, but use your brain. He probably didn't even know the West Indies were hot.
He probably didn't know that. He probably didn't know what a warming pad was. Like he was a little confused. So they arrived. Obviously, no one wanted to buy a warming pan. They're like, it's 105 degrees here and humid as hell. But what they did need was ladles because of all the sugar and molasses plantations. So they just rebranded these things as ladles, and then each plantation owner bought a shit ton of them, and Timothy was able to mark them up by 79%. He made a killing.
I have no words. What?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Again, just dumb luck. In a similar scheme, he was told to ship gloves to another fucking hot place, the South Sea Islands, but they arrived just in time to be sold to a ship full of Portuguese merchants who were about to leave to China.
This guy, this motherfucker. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you don't believe in luck after hearing this shit,
He's the luckiest man on earth.
no kidding.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Tell me more.
In another attempt to bankrupt him, a trader convinced him that Newcastle was in desperate need of coal. Newcastle is a coal mining metropolis. Like they mined coal, so it made no sense to ship coal to Newcastle. It was like kind of like a joke, like ship coal to Newcastle, like waste your money. But when Timothy's ship arrived full of coal, it happened to arrive during a mining strike. And so he was able to sell it at a huge markup.
Okay, I think his neighbors are the dumb ones at
Yeah,
this point.
they are.
Because you need to create a different tactic to get done what you're trying to do.
Right, it's not working.
Obviously. Yeah, luck is on his side, not yours. So
I wonder if they gave him good business advice, if that would backfire on him.
probably.
Like just
probably would.
switcheroo.
Or who knows? He'd become the richest man alive ever if they gave him good advice. Like,
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It might be a fun experiment. I wish someone would have tried giving him good advice.
I hope his wife got to see this money too.
Oh, she did. They're still married. They're just living in separate mansions.
I know, but I feel like, I mean, there weren't like bank accounts, mobile apps like that you could just have a shared account.
But like she was also wealthy. I mean, he was a terrible husband and like we'll get into it. So it makes like I guess it's a good consolation prize that at least he was making money, especially after like he like was about to squander their fortune a bunch of times.
Oh, man.
And by this point, Timothy, like his fortune was huge. He was just piling on the money and he was gaining some skills. Like he was going on these trips. He was becoming a pretty good merchant and he realized he could continue to make a lot of money by buying and selling obscure goods.
At that point, I wouldn't be working. I wouldn't be trying to become a better merchant and make more money.
You can always use more money.
No,
That was his philosophy.
when you have like 20 ugly ass, tall ass statues in your yard, that's when it's time to stop.
It was also, though, I think for him, less about making a lot of money and more about proving himself. Like he so desperately wanted to be in with the high society
Yeah.
that he just like kept trying to prove himself. He went to Boston and there he bought all of the city's whale bones. There was 340 tons of them.
Why?
Because now that he had all of them, he could charge whatever he wanted.
Okay.
And he marked them up 75%. So
why do people want whale bones?
Because they didn't have plastic back then, and whale bones were like really thick, sturdy material. Also, corsets were really in at the time, and they used whale bones to make corsets with. So they were actually like a hot commodity, and they were nicknamed the plastic of the 1800s. So he had monopolized essentially the plastic industry in Boston, making a boatload of money. Another time, he bought 21,000 Bibles at 41 cents each and sent them to the West Indies. He advertised them saying that every family must have at least one Bible or they'll go to hell. And sold them all.
That's the issue I have with religion. It's do this or else.
That. Yeah.
And you'll only find out after you die. So you better do it now while you're alive.
Or just wait until right before you die. Live how you want and then repent.
Make sure you die in those repenting robes.
Right. Yeah. Make sure your family advocates to bury you in the Isle of Virgins.
Yeah.
Then you'll go to heaven.
The Isle of Virgins.
Whatever it's called. The Hallway of Virgins.
The
Chapel of Virgins. Same thing.
Yeah, we need to clean up on Isle Virgin. Someone's cherry popped.
Someone spilled extra virgin olive oil all over the floor again. He sent a boat of stray cats to the Caribbean. This was like thought of as a stupid decision, but stray cats are free. And when they got to the Caribbean, everyone was really happy because they could help control the rat population. So everyone wanted to buy one. Though he yearned to be a noble gentleman, Timothy instead became famous for being an eccentric. Word of him did spread along the East Coast, but not for him being so classy and rich like he wanted. He would often have his statues repainted and their inscriptions changed. So at the base of all those like pillars, they had little inscriptions. And on Thomas Jefferson's statue, it said Declaration of Independence because Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. However, Timothy insisted this was wrong and it should be changed to Constitution. The painter was like, no, that's not true. But Timothy held him at gunpoint and fired a shot at him, narrowly missing him until he complied.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's the most American thing I've ever heard.
Who are you to say Thomas Jefferson didn't write the Constitution?
I read something on Facebook that said, also add the Bible.
Right. He filled a library with books, even though he was mostly illiterate and was never known to read for more than 10 minutes at a time.
They were coloring books.
The world's finest coloring books. He learned about the popularity of artwork among the English gentry. I'm like, you learned about
it. He didn't read about it.
No,
I can tell you that.
No, he did not. Someone told him. So this made him obsessed with cultivating a fine gallery of artwork, which he like made his servants do, made them go out and buy art.
I would like to do that.
Me too. But I don't think he cared about the art. I think he cared about looking cool. But shockingly, these things did not make him look cool and did not win him friendships with the upper class. So he took what he could get. His best friend was John P., who was from a wealthy family but was an outcast. He wanted to be a schoolmaster but didn't get the job.
I thought you were going to say a school mascot.
That would be so funny.
He wanted to be a school mascot, but the job had not yet been created for another 50 years.
No, he wanted to be a schoolmaster, but like no one wanted to hire him. So instead, he used his wealth to open his own school. And there he taught science despite having no training and knowing nothing about science.
Oh, God.
Which, like, sounds kind of familiar.
Painfully familiar.
Again, throwback to Facebook. Another close friend of his was Madame Hooper, who was a rich widow, and she took up the hobby of fortune telling to pass the time after her husband died. She and Timothy had an arrangement where he gave her tea and she gave him astrology advice. So he was very aware that he was a Aquarius. One day, Timothy met a 20-year-old man named Jonathan Plummer who was selling halibut out of a wheelbarrow. He hired what was his name? Young Jonathan to be his personal poet and follow him around and write poems about him because he heard that that's what the king did.
He could literally write anything.
Yeah.
And Timothy would never know.
Why wouldn't he know?
Because he can't read. You said
He
that,
can
right?
sort of read, but he did know because what he would do is make his poet wear a crown made of parsley from his garden because he heard that great Italian poets wore crowns of mistletoe, but like all he had was parsley. And then he'd make him stand there and recite the poems to him.
Wow, a real DIY man.
He is.
If I've ever heard of one.
His industrious American spirit. So one of the poems goes, Lord Dexter is a man of fame. Most celebrated is his name. More precious than gold that's pure. Lord Dexter shine forevermore. I'm like, that doesn't even rhyme.
Wow. He's like Lord Farquaad again.
Yes.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the most handsome of them all?
That's 2 Lord Farquaad references in 2 episodes.
I've been very Shrek oriented lately.
Have you?
Yes. I don't know why. I feel like I need to watch it again. It's calling my name.
Your shirt is Shrek color green.
It is. It is. I think it's a sign.
I think so too. We should watch Shrek tonight.
Yes, we should. Will we?
Probably
We'll
not.
see.
Yeah, we'll see. Timothy had this fun habit where he would walk to neighboring towns, stop people on the street, and ask them if they knew about the greatest man in the East.
Ew.
When they said no, he would tell them his life story.
I would be like, get the fuck away from me.
Please stop talking to me.
Please don't do that.
He frequently told visitors that his wife had died and the woman they saw walking around the property was a ghost.
Oh my God. That's like every guy ever who's like trying to get a piece of ass on the side.
Yeah, my wife is, it's okay. It's okay, baby. My wife is dead.
She's still my profile
Yeah.
picture on Facebook because it's just hard. You know, it's hard.
We're in an open relationship.
Yeah, it's
But don't talk to her. She's a ghost. Don't ask her.
It's open to me, close to her. We're trying to negotiate, but what's your
Right.
sign? I'm an Aquarius.
I'm an Aquarius. He, as we know, declared himself a lord and demanded that all his staff address him as such. Even as a lord, though, Timothy could tell that his upper-class peers didn't like him. So he decided that the best way to find out how everyone truly felt about him was to fake his own death. He built a tomb in his basement of his summer home and hired a cabinet maker to build a coffin out of the finest mahogany.
Honestly, it's the most relatable thing he's done.
I like the ghost part.
I would love to know what people are going to say about me after I die.
That's true. That's true. That's like in Tuesdays with Maury. Doesn't he have like a funeral while he's still alive?
Probably. I don't remember.
I can't handle a birthday party. There's no way I could handle watching my own funeral. I would have a meltdown.
Yeah, I want my poet to go to my own funeral and just take notes and then just read me the good ones.
Right. Apparently this coffin was so nice and so comfortable that Timothy started sleeping in it on the weeks leading up to
What a
his fake
freak.
funeral. He's so fucking weird.
It's like, it's just so dark in here.
Honestly, it sounds kind of cozy.
Yeah.
I would sleep in a coffin.
Like in the womb.
Yeah. You close it, you're all warm and cozy, and it's dark and quiet.
What if he was like, let's fill it with warm water and just just like a hot tub and just create a device where just my nostrils are barely out
Like
of the
a
water.
sensory
like a hippo.
deprivation tank.
Yeah.
They have those. I could never. Actually, I probably would do it.
I would
I'd be
definitely do
scared.
it.
I don't float, so I'd be really scared because you have to like float. But the water's salty
What
enough.
do you
that it
mean you
would-
don't float?
I don't know how to float.
Okay.
I've never been able to float. My hips sink.
You just sink?
Mm-hmm. My torso will float, but my hips sink. I don't know why.
Okay. Well,
just can't.
Fun facts.
Fun facts. He got a few of his trusted friends to organize the funeral and pass out papers announcing his death. He did let his wife and children in on what was going on, but demanded that they play their part by crying at the service. On the day of his funeral, 3,000 people showed up to this lavish event. Meanwhile, Timothy was spying on them from underneath the floorboards looking for their reactions.
Oh, wow. I would have just shown up, put on like a fake beard or something. Cool, 3,000 people there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
He should have done that. But yeah, he was under the floorboards like spying. And I'm like, how could he see people's faces, but they couldn't see?
He probably had specially made like just parted just far enough that he could see through, or like little holes in it.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening, but he was like really happy with his son's performance. He said he was, quote, sufficiently drunk to weep without much effort. And he was happy that his daughter's head was buried in her hands. But then
that would be me. It would be like I'm laughing so hard.
Exactly. I was like, she's probably trying not to laugh, like, or she's just so embarrassed that this is happening.
Embarrassed. Yeah, because you're gonna play your part, but also the truth is going to come out.
Yeah, and I assume his children were adults because his son was drunk. So, like, why are adults?
I don't think that meant
indulging
anything
this
for the 1800s.
Maybe not, but like, I don't know. I am imagining them as like teenagers or adults.
You're a product of your environment, partially. So
that's true.
He raised
He did. But I think like his wife and him lived in separate houses. So maybe, I don't know how much he raised them. I don't know. I don't really see him being a great dad.
Yeah.
Who knows? However, then he caught a glimpse of his wife and saw that she was not crying. This
oh my God, he storms out and kills her in front of everyone.
Yes, basically. He was pissed. He ran upstairs, cornered her in the kitchen, and beat her with his cane. Yeah.
How fucking stupid is he?
Yeah, he's a psycho.
And how evil is he?
He was awful. But like this caused a huge scene, obviously, and people are like, you're supposed to be dead. And now you're here hitting your wife with your cane.
Turns out they thought he was magical, came back.
Yeah, he's Jesus.
He's Jesus.
Timothy, however, was like unfazed to everyone's shock, and he just casually joined the party as if he hadn't just been pretending to be dead.
Okay. I know psychology is a relatively new science, but man, if we could have had psychology and gotten him some psychiatric help.
He was definitely a narcissist, like 100%. Yeah. I don't know what else was going on with him, but
he's not healthy.
You know that. Not well. Despite acting dead, Timothy yearned for immortality through his legacy. So
he got it.
He did. We're still talking about him. Even though he was pretty much illiterate, he wrote an autobiography.
It's just pictures.
Pretty much.
He goes into his library of coloring books and picks out all the ones.
He just colors in like coloring book pages that remind him of himself. Yeah. He's like, and this one is a fairy princess.
This is the time I threw a party and 3,000 people came.
This is a vampire because I slept in a coffin for 2 weeks. The title made no sense. It was called A Pickle for the Knowing Ones, or Plain Truce in a Homespun Dress. I have no idea what that means.
Okay. Wait, how old was he at this point? Do you know?
50.
Okay. So not old enough for dementia quite yet?
I don't think so, but one could argue he had dementia his whole life. The book was full of misspellings, like to the point where it's difficult to even understand. The first line reads, "I'm the first lord in the United States of Mercury, now of Newburyport, is the voice of the Piopel, and I can't help it, and so let it go."
Can you show her how it's spelled?
Yeah, it's highlighted here on my computer if you want to take a look.
Oh my God. This is when I try to text or Snapchat when I'm really drunk. Like, I have a Snapchat of a friend from college where like she got an Uber home and I walked home with friends, and she had drank a lot that night and she tried calling me and my phone had died. And the next day I see the Snapchat and she's like crying in the Snapchat and the caption is, "I 358'd and you did in America."
It's exactly like that. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly.
That's what it looks like. Everything is misspelled. United States is spelled like Y-O-U-nited. It's just like so bad. Rather than sell his book, he thought it would be classier if he gave it away because he heard that's what nobles do. So he stood on a street corner and just handed it to everyone walking by. Weirdly, the book actually did get really popular, but not because anyone was impressed with him.
They're like, oh, it's a crossword.
Yeah, a word jumble. It was just like so weird that everyone wanted it. They're like, this is the weirdest fucking thing.
I would want it.
I want it too. I wonder if you can still buy at least like the manuscript. There was so much demand for it that he had to hire an editor and print a second edition. Eventually he printed 8 editions because it got so popular. But in the second edition, in response to complaints about the lack of punctuation, this time it included a full page of punctuation marks with instructions to the reader to, quote, pepper and salt them as you please. So it's a workbook. You add your own punctuation.
Oh, wow. That's so good. They should use that as a grammar books in middle school now. That'd be a fun project.
It would be. Edit this page. Yeah. That would
Tell
be a
the
good
story.
project.
Yeah, edit this page. Let's see if we can make sense of one chapter.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If I were an English teacher, I might do it. In 1806, at the age 59, just a few years after writing his book, Timothy died. His estate was divided between his children, wife, and friends. His giant wooden statues were auctioned off, selling for only about 5 cents to $5 a piece.
No shit.
Ouch. Before his death, Timothy requested to be buried in the tomb he'd built for his fake funeral. But the Board of Health rejected that request, calling it unsanitary, and Timothy instead had to be buried in a cemetery like a normal person. Even though he was not a normal person.
Far from it.
Far from it. And that is the story of Lord Timothy Dexter.
Jeez, old Bates. Why is that unsanitary? Plenty of people are in tombs.
But it's in a house. He would just be rotting in the basement.
Just make it a museum.
Oh, you can't just ask to be left in your house when you die.
That's not fair.
I think it's plenty fair.
Rights over our bodies.
No, not to that extent.
The government shouldn't tell us what to do.
The government can't tell me I can't die and rot in my own house. Fuck the government. That's
what
the story.
What a wild story. Thank you for that.
Quite the tale. Most of my information comes from a Pricenomics article called The Strange Life of Lord Timothy Dexter by Zachary Crockett. And then I supplemented it with Lord Timothy Dexter's Wikipedia page. And that's that on that.
Well, thank you for that. Let's take a quick break. I need another White Claw and we'll be back.
We'll come back, we swear. Spooky season is approaching.
And we are ready. We hope you are too.
We're going to kick off spooky season with a party on Patreon. We're going to have a Zoom and we're going to each show up with our best ghost story. And we hope you guys will too.
We know you have them, so please join us on Patreon for as low as $5 per month on October 1st. We're going to have a cocktail hour just like we had yesterday, but this time it's spooky season.
Spooky season. I'm going to be wearing a witch hat and probably a Halloween sweater. I don't know about you guys. And we also have this cookbook that was sent to us by our friends at the podcast Bonfire Babble with witch cocktails. So we'll definitely have some of those. Maybe we'll post the recipe on Patreon in advance so we can all drink together for our Halloween party. Witchy. It's going to be so much fun. We'll share ghost stories, maybe break out the Ouija board. So please join us. That is on Friday, October 1st at 8 p.m. on Patreon.
Yes, ma'am. We will see you there. Welcome back, bitches. Let's talk about catfishing.
Ooh.
We've all heard of it. We've possibly been catfished or been a catfish ourselves, maybe on a dating app. Maybe you ordered a cute top from Amazon or Shein and then when it's delivered, it's just not it.
I ordered a catfish prom dress one year.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Did you have enough time to...
Yeah, I had enough time. Like, it was so tiny. Like, I couldn't even zip it up on my body. And, like, I was in high school. Like, I was tiny.
Yeah.
It was also so ugly. And my mom was like, oh, you can just wear it. And I was like, no, actually, I can't.
Oh no, I was worried about the same thing. I ordered a prom dress off of Etsy and it was going to get there just in the nick of time. And it ended up being perfect. It was from some seamstress in China. And I was like really worried. I was like, oh my God, did I get my parents to just send $300 for this dress to not work at all? But it worked out.
Good. Happy for you.
We've all been there.
Yeah. I had to borrow a dress and that ended up being fine, but it was pretty upsetting opening the bag.
It's a big deal when you're in high school.
Oh yeah. And I think looking back, I think it was homecoming, not prom, but still,
it sucks to be catfished. So this week we're learning about a case of catfishing, but it's in the sports world. And it actually started unraveling a few weeks ago.
Oh, is this Dancing with the Stars girl?
No.
Full House girl?
No.
No?
I don't know. Okay. What is that?
The girl who, we watched that Netflix documentary. Yeah. She wanted to go to UCLA for...
Oh, yeah.
Rowing.
No, that's not it. That's not it.
Aunt Becky.
Aunt Becky.
Yeah, not Jody. Yeah. Okay. No, that's not it. It's different.
Okay.
On August 29th, so literally a few weeks ago, ESPN featured a high school football game on their main network. It was IMG Academy of Florida against Bishop Sycamore of Ohio. They competed at the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. IMG is one of, if not the most talented high school football game in the United States. And one of the announcers of this game, Anish Shroff, unknowingly hit the nail on the head when he joked about Bishop Sycamore, saying that they're a little bit of a mystery. It isn't rare for one high school team to kick another high school team's ass in sports, but it is rare for those games to be featured on ESPN. Typically, you have really good teams against other really good teams. This was not the case. IMG kicked Bishop Sycamore's ass 58-0. Those watching the game live witnessed the announcers realize and acknowledge that ESPN had been catfished by Bishop Sycamore. The announcers really went in on Bishop Sycamore, disputing their claims that they had several D1 recruits on their roster, saying things like, it's very, very clear that they can't match up. And the last thing you want is to have to showcase this on national TV. As well as Bishop Sycamore told us they had a number of D1 prospects on their roster. And to be frank, a lot of that we could not verify.
So why did they let them on TV?
We're going to talk about it. They didn't have any rosters show up in ESPN's database. They didn't show up in any databases anywhere at all. And they start talking about how they're worried about the health and safety of these players. Like they knew nothing about Bishop Sycamore. So these announcers and the onlookers know that something is clearly not right. A little bit of digging on the internet and the truth starts to come out. Bishop Sycamore lied about their roster to get on TV.
Is it a real high school?
Well, you'll have to tell me what you think. So this game was on a Sunday, and this high school football team had played a game 2 days before on that Friday, which is basically unheard of. Like, you need at least a week to recover. And when they played that game on the Friday before this main game that unraveled everything, the roster they submitted was literally empty. You could see all of the names of the players and their positions of the other team, but for Bishop Sycamore, nothing.
That's
no
not
names.
allowed.
I have no idea how they even played that game. So it's a huge red flag. There's pretty much no records of high schools allowing teams to play 2 games in a week. And the game that Bishop Sycamore played against IMG, it was just a complete disaster. The announcers were apologizing on live TV, and they ended up doing trivia about Canton, Ohio, just to try and pass the time.
Why did they keep filming it?
What else are you going to do?
I feel like you have to stop it. Like, people could get seriously hurt if they don't know how to play football.
They know how to play football.
Well, apparently they didn't.
Well, IMG is one of the best team.
No, they did. The other team didn't. They're just getting their asses kicked.
I know.
It's like if you put me on a football field.
Literally.
Yeah,
yes.
that's not safe.
It's not safe at all. The coach of Bishop Sycamore was given several chances to forfeit the game or to have a running clock. He said no, no, no to every single opportunity. So everyone's left asking, how the fuck did they end up on ESPN?
Yeah.
The game was scheduled by Paragon Marketing Group. They've worked with ESPN for over 20 years now. Obviously, they didn't know that Bishop Sycamore, in their defense, had played the game on Friday night, and they say that they would have canceled this game on that Sunday if they would have known. This marketing group was basically like, sorry, we should have looked into them more, but it's like really, really hard to find people who want to play IMG.
What?
Yeah.
Anyone probably wanted to be on TV.
It's not a guarantee when you sign up to play a team that you're going to be on TV.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And IMG is just so good and so known for being good that...
But like also in the high school sports world, like the coaches want to play really good teams because it makes your team better. Like even if you lose.
Yeah.
Because high school, it ain't that serious.
That's exactly why Bishop Sycamore wanted to play them. And Paragon, this marketing group has come across issues before in confirming rosters with online schools, but it had never been this difficult until now. And the roster that Bishop Sycamore gave Paragon a month before the game was completely different than every single person they ended up putting on the field.
They're like, we have Russel Wilson and Russel
brother.
Wilson and Russell Wilson. That's the only football player I know.
I didn't even know it was a football player. I was going to start making up names. I was going to say Skippy Scout.
Cat improving sports.
So they're full of Russell Wilsons, but only Skippy Scouts show up. And not only was the roster different, but players were sharing helmets. When one came off the field, he would give his helmet to one that was going on the field.
That's what I had to do with my soccer team a couple years ago. Not all of them had shin guards because they'd forget them at home, and then we'd have to go play a game. So they'd come off and trade shin guards.
Clearly, there's an issue, and you wouldn't expect that. Like, you could expect that for just your average run-of-the-mill public high school.
I don't think you could even like that's. The helmets are part of the uniform.
It's pretty rough.
That's bad.
You don't expect to see that on ESPN, though, especially not ESPN.
Yeah.
They were also switching jerseys. They didn't have enough jerseys.
Well, that's not allowed. You can't have two people with the same number.
Well, when you don't have a roster,
I guess
there are no rules. They're all drinking claws because obviously there's no laws.
No laws. The ref should have stopped it.
I know.
Like, that's not allowed. They don't even let middle schoolers have the same number on the same team.
I have no idea how it went this far. Like, I remember almost crying when I played lacrosse because it was fucking freezing outside for one of the games. And I had, like, the Under Armour on, long sleeve, but I was still so cold despite running up and down the field. I put on a quarter zip, and the ref was like, no, that's not allowed because it has print on it. Like, it was black and gray, and he was like, no, and I was like, I'm going to die today.
It's like when they make you take off your sweatpants. Like, some refs will let you play in sweatpants, some won't. You're not supposed to, but
it's cold.
It's fucking
out
cold.
here.
Yeah.
Hose do get cold.
me too.
So this team, there's just something wrong. They don't have enough equipment. In one of their past games, it's suspected that they don't even have home jerseys because when they were playing a quote unquote home game, both teams were in black jerseys.
What?
Yeah. Their jerseys are black. That's it. It seems like that's all they have.
Okay, well then like someone needs to put on a penny.
Put on a penny or fundraise that shit
Right.
and get it taken care of and get off ESPN.
Maybe they were trying to become famous influencers by being on TV, aka ESPN, and then that would have funded their new jerseys.
That or their fucking coaches.
That's true.
So leave it to the internet to actually do some fucking research on this mystery team. People start doing some digging and they find some addresses for the school. This team, Bishop Sycamore, gave ESPN 2 addresses. And if you go to their website, you won't find much of anything. You definitely won't find an address. And since this happened a couple weeks ago, their website has been taken down altogether. It does not even exist anymore. One of the addresses they gave ESPN is just a duplex in Ohio. It's residential housing.
Wait, I'm sorry. So they signed up to play ING, whatever the fuck you keep saying,
Yep.
not knowing it would be on TV.
They knew. I think they knew it would be on TV.
So then why-
Because they had... So why...
Like, why would it be hard to find an actual team? Like, I bet a lot of teams would want to. Why did they choose a fake one?
What it boils down to at the end of this is that everyone who should have been responsible is pointing the finger at somebody else who should have
Okay.
been responsible.
It all comes down to like an intern who was in charge of like scheduling this thing. Like, there's no way he can fuck it up. Like, everyone wants to play in this game.
Yes.
Pick the best one. And he waited until the day before the assignment was due and
he's
just
okay.
made a fake team.
There's some like a program or a Twitter account or something. I think it's called like Gridiron Athletics that will match up teams and be like, they should play together. They should play together. And then sometimes ESPN will be like, ooh, that would be good. Like, let's put it on TV and make it happen. So it feels like it's like the bystander effect. It feels like where they're like, well, surely if this is on my desk, then the person before me has vetted them.
That makes sense.
It's like credibility indicators.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So one of the addresses is a duplex in Ohio, and the other address for this supposed Bishop Sycamore school is the Franklin University Library.
It was the interns' friends who all got together from the university they go to and like played this game
Like, bam,
because
bam, bam, boom, boom,
he
boom.
forgot to schedule a team.
So stupid. So let's talk about Bishop Sycamore, the school. Your question, is it even a school? It's debatable.
How's that debatable?
Well, different sources say different things and at different times. So if it even can be considered a school, it's an online charter school.
Okay.
Okay. There's no brick and mortar building attached to it at all. Like you would think if it was a virtual online school,
Right.
that there would be like an administrative office, like not just people chilling at home and putting their home address for the school address.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, who lived in that townhouse?
no one related
Oh,
to
okay.
this thing at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just a random address.
Okay.
There's not even any evidence supporting that classes even took place. With interviews of former players, they're like, yeah, they tried one time. They took us to a community library in October one time. And that's the only thing that resembles class taking place.
I wonder if it was like a scam charter school that's like, not a school. Like they just like use it to pocket government funds, but like it's not a school at all.
They're not
And-
supported by taxes
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
They don't get any government support because of religious beliefs.
Wait, what?
Yeah. What?
I'm confused what you just said. I'm genuinely.
So I'm trying to find it
Because charter
in my
schools
notes
do
here.
get funded by the government.
It's not actually a charter school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's what they came out with initially. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
get to it. I know it's very confusing and very weird to try and understand. So no classes were taking place. their school website, like I said before, it's been taken down, but before it was taken down, it was really sketchy. Essentially, it was just a blog with very erratic postings. The latest one was in May of this year, talking about how to get spotted or recruited for a D1 college team. And in the About Us section, there's nothing. It was just completely
They're
blank.
like, you don't need to know.
Yeah, that's how they got players. They're like, ooh, they're mysterious. The first season the team actually has any data in Max Preps was 2020. They did have something from 2019, but I don't think it was in Max Preps. And they won 0 games, so they're not a good team. And the year before, so 2020, they lost to IMG again. It was 56-6.
Okay.
They had a terrible season. And so we're like, how did they end up in ESPN? Not only this, but they're not a part of the Ohio High School Athletic Association, which just gives these teams validity. Essentially, you have to, if you're a school, you have to have at least 2 sports teams in the winter, spring, and fall to qualify for membership. And if you're a part of this association, it's like, okay, you're a real school. You have a real program. You're not a scam. And if they had enough for a football team, then they should have enough for other sports. But football's the only thing that's happening at this school.
Okay.
So I would like to introduce you to Bishop Sycamore's coach, Leeroy Johnson.
I thought his name was going to be Bishop Sycamore.
Well, Bishop Sycamore is named after someone who's not even real. Bishop Sycamore is not a real person at all, and they're named after this person who's not real.
Wife to Mother Willow, Mr. Bishop Sycamore.
Mother Willow.
Little Pocahontas reference there.
As of August 31st of this year, there was an arrest warrant out for Leeroy Johnson for domestic violence from a case in July. He's also been ordered to pay back a $100,000 loan from 2018. Do you want to guess how many payments he's made on it?
0.
Yes. None. Yeah. And Leeroy and his business partners have also been accused by 2 banks and a hotel with failing to pay more than $300,000 in loans and charges.
What did they buy?
Loans from the banks. And then as far as the hotels go, we'll get to that. But basically, this team was traveling and not paying for staying in hotels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why travel if you're bad?
A delusion.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this guy reminds me a lot of Dr. Death.
Really?
Yes. And we don't know a ton about him. What I'm telling you today, I've read a lot of shit. What I'm telling you today is what I know about him, but this is still unraveling. Like, this game that broke everything open only happened at the very end of August. So I think we'll know more in the coming weeks.
Okay.
Leeroy isn't new to coaching. Back in 2018, he started and coached for Christians of Faith Academy. And when that inevitably went downhill, he just changed the name to Bishop Sycamore. Okay. And when he was coaching for Christians of Faith, this is one instance. He took his team out for some paintball, a little team building activity. And it sounds like a blast if you're into that kind of thing. Like, they played for at least 4 hours.
That sounds like a literal hell.
I'm not into it, but I'm sure if you're a high school boy who's trying to get some energy out or something.
4 hours of paintball.
They used over 20,000 paintballs.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And spent over $1,000. When it came time to pay up, Leeroy's credit card was useless. And he was like, let me just write you a check. Guess what? That check was bad.
Guess what? Never let someone write you a check.
Guess what? Never play paintball.
True. That too.
Yeah, who
Guess
writes
what?
checks
Never
anymore?
play football.
Yeah. Honestly, this lesson is disgusting.
Yeah.
And I should have never done it.
No, I can't believe you spent all day today reading about football.
Well, I didn't. None of it really had to do anything with football. It's all the scandal. And actually, Clint was talking about this story, and I was across the room, was like, what?
Say what?
That sounds like a night classy topic.
It does.
So he writes bad checks. He doesn't have money, and yet he still plans on paying people. And according to former players, he gets all of his plays from the Madden video games.
I mean, it's based on real football. They have Russell Wilson.
Do they? Or do you know this to be true?
Do. I know this to be true.
I just laughed so hard. I guess that's a kind of a good tactic, but
Yeah,
also it's like it
may as
shows
well.
your lack of expertise. So let's talk about the players of this team. Okay, they're not even high school students. They're graduated already.
Oh my God.
This is like when you get those 30-year-olds to play freshmen in high school for movies and TV shows.
What was that movie where they like had adults playing?
Dear Evan Hansen?
No, it was like there was bench warmers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like bench warmers.
It's exactly like Benchwarmers, or that new movie that came out, and everyone is like, "Why is this guy supposed to be
That's
a freshman?"
Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't. Okay.
And I looked it up. He was the guy that won the Tony for it on Broadway.
Okay, so that's why. But he looks so fucking ancient.
He's old.
Yeah.
He's old.
Was the rest of the cast like actually in high school? And then there's just this 30-year-old man playing a 15-year-old?
I don't know. But he won the Tony in 2017. So he was, what's 27 minus 4?
Maybe
He was
2020.
23. He probably could have passed on stage
Yeah.
Yeah.
as a high schooler.
For
but
sure, but not
Not at
anymore.
27.
Not in a movie.
2020 hit him real hard. So same, but different. These Bishop Sycamore players are mostly junior college dropouts in their early 20s. So after this debacle game, Leeroy, the coach, tried to save face and said that he, quote, believes he has a young, growing program on his hands.
What?
Bitch, you
Of
had an
grown-ass
old
adults?
you had an old program. Pay your bills, man. Leeroy claimed that he, quote, should have made sure the school had a functioning website to explain more about what we do. That's like his response to all of this. Everyone's like, dude, you're being really sketchy.
Yeah.
And if he created a website that explained what they do, it would just say like scam.
Yeah, it would
in all
say,
caps.
we're not a high school. We found 24-year-old men to pretend to be high school students
And play
get
bad
their
football.
asses kicked by actual high school students.
Yeah, and try and sell the dream that you can get recruited to a D1 school. Like, these players are just a part of the scam. They're not the ones
honeys.
scamming. I know.
Poor babies.
I know.
You're 24. That time has passed.
Most of them are like 20-ish, like 19, 20, 21.
Still.
But yeah,
That ship has sailed.
it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And like, what's his motive? Is he trying to like fuck their moms or something?
He's trying, and this is the question that I had, and none of the sources had a clear, like, this is what he was doing, like, this is the scam. But from what I understand, it was the motive of getting on, like, ESPN, getting attention around it, because obviously they're not, like, using the money for equipment and things like that.
He sounds like, I agree with you. He sounds like the Dr. Death guy. Like, he just like is like a narcissist who loves power and attention and like is destructive. Like, he doesn't care as long as he has power and attention. And he is also like delusional. Like, he maybe believes this idea that
I think he really does, because to just rename your failing quote unquote charter school to a different name and to ignore hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that you're in just to be a coach and lie about having D1 recruits.
Yeah.
And in his mind, it's like he's in a sports movie where he's like, hey, boys, like, let's bond at the paintball park. And he's like, thanks, coach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things that he used to recruit people. I'm going to jump ahead in my notes here, but he told these players that there's a Netflix documentary coming out about this team.
Oh, no. I mean, maybe now there will be.
No, there literally is now.
Oh
They're doing
God.
a documentary. Michael Strahan, a Hall of Fame defensive end, founded an entertainment production company just so that he could get the rights to Leeroy Johnson's story and make a documentary on Bishop Sycamore.
This is exactly what this man wanted all along.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yes, he's getting all of the attention. Kevin Hart's company has started to look into producing their own docuseries on Bishop Sycamore. And this is all within the last couple weeks.
It's like Tiger King stuff.
Yeah,
It is total Tiger King stuff. It's absolutely insane. So there are 2 active message boards popping off right now about Bishop Sycamore. These are all claims, personal experiences. They can't all be verified, but they're pretty damning. So there's been several interviews with parents and players backing up these claims. A lot of them share the same types of stories. Some of the players were living in hotels when they moved to Columbus to be a part of the team, and the school said that they would pay for housing. Of course, they didn't. And these players ended up getting evicted. And as a team, they would have to steal food from Walmart to get food to eat.
Oh my God, that's awful.
I know. Parents were charged with bills upwards of $2,000 from hotels after being told that the school was paying for all of the players' rooms for away camps and away games.
Ugh.
Like I said before, the school was founded as Christians of faith, but it collapsed after fraudulent activities. They were fraudulently obtaining loans, not paying vendors, not paying landlords. And that's when they just switched their name, opened up Bishop Sycamore. They used fake addresses, fake names. They attached themselves to charitable organizations without permission or knowledge of those organizations. And there's not an actual school, I'm sure, as you've been clued into by now. There never has been. There's no one named Bishop Sycamore. They never even did online school. And like I said before, again, these players are post-grad. There are programs, they're called prep schools. They're really popular in the Northeast that allow students to participate in a 5th year of high school. Initially, these programs were a way for students to improve their academics before going to college. But now a lot of schools allow students to graduate with fine or great grades and an NCAA compliance test score, and then come back for their 5th year just to play sports and possibly get more scholarships or just to get scholarships for sports, like, period. So obviously, Bishop Sycamore is just full of lies. They lie about their players, their facilities, their D1 offers, and they were lured in by the promise of a Netflix documentary. Now they're getting it, probably not in the light that they initially expected. But there's a new Bishop Sycamore head coach within the last week, maybe 2 weeks now. Leeroy Johnson was fired.
Fired by who? It's not real.
Fired by the president or the founder of Bishop Sycamore. Where is he here? What's his name? Oh my gosh.
Imagine being fired by the leader of the scam for not being a good enough scammer.
It's crazy. And they have a new coach now.
Oh, good.
Their new coach's name is Tyron Jackson.
Okay.
He sat down with NBC Columbus to set the record straight. The state of Ohio identified Bishop Sycamore as, quote, a non-charter, non-tax supported school in 2020.
Okay.
This new head coach cleared things up by saying, we do not offer curriculum. We are not a school. That's not what Bishop Sycamore is.
What?
And I think that's what the biggest misconception about us was. And that was our fault because that was a mistake on paperwork.
What? So what are they?
A scam? I don't know. No one knows. Like,
what's the end goal?
What are they even trying to do? Because you don't make money just by being on ESPN.
No.
You can probably, I mean, Leeroy Johnson, like, who knows what his future holds, because Ohio's governor, Mike DeWine, has now called for a state investigation to Bishop Sycamore last week. So who knows? Jail time in your future? Like, yeah, you can sell the rights to your story, but...
That's fraud.
Fraud on fraud.
But it sounds like he was employed by the greater fraud. Like,
I know. Granddaddy fraud.
It sounds like the new coach is just this guy's lawyer who's like roped in on it and is now just a PR voice who's just like saying the legal jargon to try to get them out of it.
Yeah, like what are you? And if you're not a school, why did you try that one time to take these kids to a community library to do school? No classes ever even took place.
No. And
what were they doing?
If you're not a school, can you have a football team that plays against other schools?
No, you can't just have...
You can't just like have like, I'm just going to go around and get like 20 college students to play this, to join my team, and now we're going to play against high schools?
Yes.
But we're not a school.
And plenty of these players were already enrolled in junior colleges and had played junior college football games, and then went over to Bishop Sycamore and played high schoolers poorly.
Yeah, if you're playing on the community college team, you should be pretty good, at least good enough to play against high schoolers. What?
I know. And at the end of the day, we still don't have answers as to how this shit show even happened, how it got aired on ESPN on the first place. Like I said, everyone is just pointing fingers at everyone else. Clearly, it takes very little effort to do some digging into this fake team and this sketch-ass school, if you can even call it that. But I guess it's good that the team has been exposed. I feel really bad for these players who thought that Bishop Sycamore could have been their ticket to something greater, to college scholarships. It
sounds like Leeroy Jenkins, whatever the fuck his name is like a cult leader.
It does. It really does.
Like, it sounds like he sucks them into his cult.
And he's the only like leader that I read about in my research, but there is a founder of the school. So I'll keep you guys posted about what goes down here. I'm really excited to see what happens in this investigation by the state. But man, it's crazy. So,
wow.
That's sports. My sources are Deadspin.com, an article by John Hoffling, AwfulAnnouncing.com, articles by Sean Keeley, Andrew Buchholz, Ben Koo, and Pix11.com, an article by Mario Diaz, NBC4Investigates.com, an article by Jamie Ostroff, Sports Illustrated, articles by Dan Gartland and Joseph Salvador, USA Today, an article by Tom Shad, and The Guardian.
Wow, for someone who's not a list bitch, you have a lot of sources.
Okay. I never know how to do source. I'm like, do I do all of it? Do I do the name of the article?
You did it right. I was just like, I had one source this week and you had like 30.
Well,
good for you. Good for
30.
you.
You know what? I read. I don't play football. I can read about football scams.
Yeah. Well, thanks for enlightening us about sports ball. That was crazy.
You're welcome.
It was cool that there was this theme throughout the whole episode of like
these
failure rising to the top. Yeah. Failing up.
Yeah. Very cool. Foley night class you could fail up. Make it happen.
In the good way.
In the good way.
Join Patreon, you guys.
Yeah.
Please, we're having cocktail parties.
It'll be so fun, you guys. You don't even know.
It really will. And it helps us out a lot to keep this show going because remember, I mean, we are teachers. We are real people. We have full-time jobs, and the podcast in itself is a full-time job for me, Kat, and Alex. So
we're tired.
We appreciate your support, and we appreciate you listening.
Yes, we have so much fun. So if you like this, check out Patreon. Rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend, and keep listening. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And 3, 2, 1.
Class dismissed.